This is the time of year that back to school anxiety can be at its highest level ever. And parents, you need to have some ideas and thoughts on how you're going to handle it this year, especially if your children are super sensitive or maybe they're being transferred to a new school. Let's find out what we can do. David Essel here. You're tuned in to David Essel Alive, America's most powerful and positive podcast in this galaxy and all others, helping the world and Americans heal at the same time. The website, talkdavid.com. 35 years now on the air as a syndicated radio, TV, podcast host. And so glad that you're with us. Hey, this is a huge topic. You know, if you can't remember going back to school after a summer break when you were a little kid, I know a lot of us were anxious. Some of us got depressed. Some of us were extremely scared and nervous. If you're going to a new school, it adds all of that much more anxiety, right? Especially if it's a school where your kids don't have any friends, or maybe you've moved out of state or into a different district where they don't know anyone. So what do we do as parents? What are some of the most important things that we can do? Number one, if your child is going to a new school, the most important thing I believe you can do is drive that child to the school regularly. Show them where they're going to be dropped off at the box. Walk around the school. Look at the athletic fields. If you can get inside, get inside. If you can set up with a teacher to be able to walk through the school ahead of time. Now listen, I'm talking about things that will decrease the anxiety of the child. One of the hardest things in the world for children is to come to a new school and they've never stepped in a hallway. They've never stepped on the ground. They've never gotten off the bus and gone, now what direction do I go? As parents, that's our responsibility to help minimize that anxiety. That's number one if it's a brand new school. Now, number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, it doesn't matter what other things your child may fall into. The next thing I'm going to tell you is crucially important. What do you say when a child goes, I don't want to go back to school. I'm nervous. There's bullies there. There are people that don't like me. What do you do when a child is asking you for or telling you of why they're nervous, why they're scared? First of all, I want to tell you, you're one of the most gifted parents on the planet. If a child is coming out and telling you why they're nervous, why they're scared, why they're insecure, you're gifted, which tells me that you've done something really good in helping them learn how to express their emotions. Unfortunately, that's very rare in today's society. What do most parents do? Now, what I'm going to say is going to be somewhat graphic in nature, but it's just the reality of what this world is about. When a child says, I'm really nervous, Mom, about going to school, I don't know anyone, and Mom and or Dad, Grandma and or Grandpa, older siblings or next door neighbors, I don't give a heck who it is, says, oh, don't worry about it. You'll get to know people right away. Everyone loves you, blah, blah, blah. What you're doing in that case is you're shoving your child's anxiety down their throat. You are minimizing their ability to express emotion. And you do it enough, and they'll stop expressing. And what has happened next? They'll find a way to get their needs met outside of their family. Maybe it's by hanging out with kids that you'd rather not them hang out with. Maybe they're then introduced to the concept like I was at 12. Oh my God, alcohol takes away all kinds of anxiety. Going into a new high school, I didn't hardly know anyone. Oh yeah, I was on the back railroad tracks with the older students trying to fit in, drinking alcohol in my freshman year in high school. Now, am I saying that my parents did not listen to my anxiety? No, they listened to it. They did the best they could. But the information I'm sharing right now wasn't available in the 50s and 60s. This kind of stuff is what we need to do. We need to take our kids by the hand, bring them to a new school. If they're talking about going back and they're afraid of certain things, we need to say, oh my gosh, tell me more about why you're nervous about that child, or tell me more about why you're scared to go back with that teacher, or tell me more. In other words, instead of saying, oh, don't worry, everything's going to be fine. You make friends so easy. Everyone loves you. You're fun. That doesn't cut it. That tells the child that you don't care. That tells the child that you don't want to listen. That tells the child that you're not listening to anything they're saying. And I'm not coming down on you as a parent if you're watching this. I'm just being real with you. You know, you have to give your child the opportunity to voice their fears, their insecurities, everything that scares the heck out of them, and learn about that. Learn and then say to them, hey, if you had a best friend going into a new school, what might you tell them to do? Kids are smarter than heck today. They probably have their own answers. But if they're not asked to go deeper, hey, let's do this. Let's work on a project together. Let's write down the 3 things that you're most scared about going back to school. And then, honey, let's figure out solutions together. One of the solutions might be you and your child sitting down and Googling, how do you go to a new school and feel more comfortable? Or maybe they're going to Google, how do you go to a higher level grade that you're not comfortable going into? Or maybe, how do I go back to school when I know that there are kids that don't like me there? You see, there's all kinds of information on the internet, but the worst thing in the world that we do subconsciously as a parent is we tell them, don't worry about this, don't worry about that. That's not a big thing. If it's a big thing to them, it should be a big thing to you. And you should want to know, how do I help them the most? How do I teach them about emotional expression? What are the words? Like, honey, what are you feeling? I'm not sure. Are you scared? No. Are you upset? Yes. Are you frustrated? Yes. Are you insecure? Yeah. Okay. So let's start asking questions. And then if they aren't sure of the word, feed them words, get them to know emotions so they can come home to you and say, Mom, I was so insecure. Remember how we talked 3 days ago about how I was so insecure of going to this new school? You're not going to meet it. Believe it. Billy Johnson's there. I had no idea Billy Johnson was coming to that school. We had lunch together. It was great to see him. You never know what can happen when you get into real dialogue with your children. The other thing I want to mention is this. One of the things that kills a child's heart and soul is perfectionism. If you want to create anxiety inside your child, expect them to be perfect. An A is not good enough. An A plus is necessary. A B is not good enough. As A is necessary. When we put that perfectionistic attitude on our child, and many times it comes because that's how we were raised, it doesn't cut it. It creates extreme anxiety. It can start to create isolation. It can start to create all kinds of problems with confidence levels with our children. Listen, I work with adults, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, that were raised in perfectionist households, and they're all a mess. They're all a freaking mess in their ages because they always had that expectation that what they were doing wasn't enough. They needed more validation. They needed to be better. They were never good enough, and they carried that into adulthood. Let's back off on that as parents today. I'm David Essel. Listen, there's 3 books at the website you can get absolutely free to help you de-stress, to help you get in touch with who you are, which might help you get in touch with your kids and their emotions. Go to talkdavid.com. Get the 3 books absolutely free. And if you need more help, we even offer a 20-minute free conversation with me, a session, absolutely free on the phone. TalkDavid.com. You've been listening to the #1 most positive, powerful, proactive podcast in the galaxy, David Essel Alive, helping Americans in the world heal. Everything is at TalkDavid.com. You have a beautiful day.